I'm proud of the way we really defended great in the second half. I thought overall our defense has been very good, and I've been saying that I think we could be a great defensive team. And the second half tonight was another example. So, we made a few adjustments, but more importantly, we were just able to really focus our defense and be able to make it difficult for GW to score. Their guards are explosive and very hard to defend, contain, everything. So we're pleased with the win and looking forward to Saturday night.
Coach Mooney, it looked like one of those adjustments was to put Gustafsson on Bishop.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. Why didn't you start that way?
Well, Adams is such a big, strong guard, and we were just he averages 17 a game, and so we were just a little bit worried about the size advantage he'd have on Jason Nelson. So I think that they both guarded them in the first half, or they both guarded one of those guards in the first half. In the second half, we were just a little bit more of Andre on him, and we thought, hopefully Adams' strength and size maybe wouldn't factor in as the game got a little bit more half court and not as many plays. They tried to post him one time, I think, but that was it.
Could you share your thoughts on Tyler's scoring primarily?
Yeah. Well, he threw a backdoor layup, John, which was really great to see. For me, that was the highlight. But his aggressiveness was tremendous. He drove the ball so well off of the pass. He's obviously so quick and can get to the basket so quickly that I thought he was terrific. I thought that was. I thought that was really impressive. He put so much pressure, just on the rim. With him driving in there, and he was great all night.
How do you bottle that aggressiveness and have that carry over game after game after game? Does it depend on the matchup, the flow of the game, or just him deciding when to do it, when not to do it?
Yeah, I think that when it's somewhat easier if he knows he's going to play the whole game, that he can, I don't think it's that you're sitting back and saying, oh, next time I'll try, but I just think you feel it as you're moving, even before you get the ball, and you kind of feel what's going on, how they're guarding you, where everybody is. And then I think there are times, like in the second half or when we pulled away to a certain degree, then I think you're a little bit more motivated to really attack the basket. And I think that was probably the case tonight, and that, being out there the whole time, he has a good sense what's going on. He didn't settle for any threes. He didn't settle for any of his threes, and he just attacked the basket and really had a good knack for going at the right time.
Would you like for him to play 40? Kind of like what Gilly did for you?
Yeah, he doesn't really get tired, I have to tell you. And, I don't know why we would take him out if he's not tired.
Coach, when you had Jenna, and I'm not saying her last name because I don't know her, but I don't know how to say her last name. I think it's Renault, the official. You had her against Hofstra last year as well. Did you detect any difference in how she calls a game rather than a foul?
No. I thought the crew was very good, and just see it as part of the crew. I thought they were very good tonight.
You have been outspoken to a certain degree on expanding the NCAA tournament. There has been discussion of this week. I wonder if you could just say a word or two about that, and perhaps if you still support that idea and if you think it might happen.
Yeah. Did you see the letter that I wrote?
I did.
Okay. What did you think, John?
I think you're wrong.
Well, we should argue the merits of the letter and the points that I brought up.
Well, I agree with your points, but I just think your conclusion is incorrect. That my position being 68 is the perfect size. It fits timing wise.
68's more perfect than 64?
64 is good too. It's essentially the same thing to me.
So wouldn't 72, 76, 80?
I think that expands too much, in my view.
Yeah. I think it's just more. I don't know if you're a World Cup fan, John, but they.
I remember that point.
Right, and next year or the next World Cup, I think it's 40 teams when they come to the U.S. Right, so that has expanded dramatically. I think a little bit more. The NBA playoffs, which always had a lot of teams, expanded by 4, right? And so that's my one point is I think there's a little bit more of that's what is going on in sports is that there are many more teams in these tournaments. We've expanded by 100 teams, or we've added 100 teams, and we've only expanded the tournament by 4. Now, we haven't expanded by, we haven't added more North Carolinas, but there are still a lot more teams, and I think, we've been on the bubble, I'd say maybe 8 times, right, coming down the stretch, and I can remember in 2010, because they talk about it so much, it was like, well, how long can Richmond rely on its win over Purdue? Because we had beaten them early in the season. It's like, well, we can only play Purdue once. And if John, I think I would agree with you if there was a little bit more scheduling, if there was any direction in scheduling, then I think I could agree with you. But there's no direction, and so the Pac-12 they played 3 road games in a SWAC series, and they lost all 3. And everybody would consider the Pac-12 one of the top 5-6 conferences. And so if we never get the chance to play anyone at home, never. Well, then how are we supposed to make the case for us? Now that's a Richmond perspective. A broader perspective is every NCAA tournament has expanded significantly since 1985, except the men's basketball tournament. And so I don't know why it wouldn't. And I was having a discussion with another esteemed media member, and they said, well, Richmond earned our way because we won the conference tournament, and then we went ahead and beat Iowa, who was the Big Ten champ. And my point was, yes, and Dayton would have beaten Iowa, and VCU could have beaten Iowa, and who's next in our league? Davidson could have beaten Iowa. The parity that exists, right, is not represented with the imbalance in bids to the leagues, right? So, in the ACC, for example, if it's late in the season, so Virginia was on the bubble last year, it's late in the season, and they get Carolina and Florida State at home on a weekend, well, there's a great chance they're going to win that game. And Richmond would have a great chance to win those games, right? And I'm not saying that we're as good as Virginia, but if those games were coming to the Robins Center in February and March, and not just in this window that we have, we would get a fair share of those games. So I don't think overall the bids, when you say, hey, the Big East got 8 bids, and the Big 12 got 9 bids, and the A-10 got 2, I don't think that's representative of how balanced it is. And that certainly influences my point. But on the bigger point, I would say, my God, the baseball playoffs are expanded. I mean, after 162 games. So I just think that if there was a more set, you see all these teams playing non-Division I games. We have in the past played 5 high majors. We played 2 this year, even though we're trying our best. We haven't had a high major home game in how long? So I don't see how unless an Atlantic 10 team has 6 losses that they're assured to be in the NCAA tournament. And as I just don't see how. I don't see how it's not, with the addition of all the teams, with how every other NCAA tournament has expanded, and with how unbalanced it is in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament. I don't see why we wouldn't. I don't see the drawback.
Do you have optimism that it will, or not necessarily?
Who came out with the idea that they should do it? A task force?
Transitional committee?
Transitional. Yeah. Task forces don't give me necessarily a ton of hope. But I think it's a positive step in the right direction. And what I have found is in engaging in these discussions, the other side is often, it's good enough, leave it alone. Well, I don't remember anybody complaining about the 1980 baseball playoffs or when the Braves won in 95. But they have expanded it. So I don't see where that argument holds a lot of water. because that would be the same argument that all these other sports have had, and they've expanded. So,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
To piggyback on that,
Yeah.
and I'm asking you about the game. Do you think it kind of boils down, if you can kind of narrow it down, does it come down to scheduling? Yes, but, you know, in your situation, you have to schedule strong early and then hope your teams in your conference are strong.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
In February and March, you have those
Right.
net, I guess those big net ranking games.
Yes.
For you guys to watch.
And John, you'd be interested in this. So I think we should do this. So I've talked to John Rothstein, and I'm not on Twitter, but I know he's in your camp, right? Of no expansion. I think what we should do is the A10. Because at the end of the year on Selection Sunday, they're going to say, well, the so-and-so's schedule wasn't quite good enough, or they didn't have the quad one wins and all this stuff. Very predictable. And I think that if John Rothstein can get us 8 home and homes, the whole conference, right? Get us 8 home and homes, that this league gives him $50,000. Okay? But what he has to do is he has to tweet once a day of the teams that he spoke to in scheduling and what their reason for not playing a home and home with Richmond is. And he has to go on the record. So he wouldn't come close to getting 8 games. You know, and that's just, I think that would be a little bit of an eye-opener to see that, you know, when our schedule comes out, we've really, really tried to play a great schedule all the time, and I think that's the Richmond way, you know, and I really believe that. But if it's not quite as good as it was before, if there's criticism or it's a little better, whatever it is, if you knew how little control over it, and we're in the Atlantic 10, right? What's the Atlantic 10? The 7th best conference generally, or 8th best conference? So, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like any conferences below us, but it's an impossible task to schedule, and you know, you have to be happy with getting them on a neutral floor. You know, and I just don't see how that's. We're all trying to make the same tournament. You know what I mean? It's not like we're making a lesser tournament. We're all trying to make the same tournament. So how are we supposed to do that? And then even if somebody had Davidson had a tremendous season last year, but they were still critical because they didn't have a lot of quad 1 or 2 wins in their non-league, right? If you remember. And so what are they supposed to do? If the teams are out there won't play them, then how are we supposed to get these wins?
Your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I haven't started watching them yet. To be honest, I know it. I'm guessing it's a fair amount of new guys, and you know, since Keith's been there, they've been physical, they've been rugged, they've been big, and so I haven't watched them yet. But I know those qualities, or I'm assuming those qualities are pretty prevalent.
Isaiah, what made the difference in those last 5 minutes? Because there certainly wasn't much difference in the first 35 or so.
Most definitely. I think it was getting stops on the defensive side. I think offense wasn't a problem the whole game. So we got to string together a couple stops, and, you know, that got our lead up a little bit.
Could you share your thoughts associated with trying to defend Bishop, both as a creator and a scorer?
Yeah, he's a big-time scorer, man. Our emphasis was to, you know, make somebody else beat us, which he started giving the ball up a little bit more in the second half, late second half. That was our goal. So, you know, our goal was to make other people make shots, and, you know, that went well for us.
You deal with Tyler every day. What makes him difficult to deal with? Because obviously he gets to the rack, he shoots threes periodically, and he gets to the line.
Most definitely. He's a 3-level scorer. He gets those buckets for us when we need him the most, and you know, he's a good person to play with for sure.
And how, there's some maddening inconsistency with you guys, and has been since VMI. How do you sort of iron that out?
Well, it comes down to, you know, individual play a little bit. I know I haven't been playing the best, but I'm trying to get my rhythm back a little bit. But, you know, I think we needed this win right here for our confidence, and that'll get us going, you know, leading forward in the conference play.
How do you think you get your rhythm back?
Man, I'm a shot maker, man, not a taker. So, you know, it was getting to me a little bit. I hit 1 3 right when I got in the game early, and that helped my confidence a lot, and it got us going for sure.
How do you balance? I guess you were a scorer at your previous school, and you're kind of like doing a little bit of everything here, and the scoring is kind of like taking a back seat. So how do you kind of balance doing what you normally do, but fitting in your role with this team?
Most definitely. I know for a fact that I'm a team player, so I'm going to find value in something. If I'm not making shots, then I'm going to rebound the mess out the ball if I can. I know me and Tyler get most of the rebounds for sure, but I'm going to find value, whether that's making shots, finding other teammates, and, I'm a team player. As long as we get the win, I'm good.
Hey, based on what you've seen of the A-10 so far, how does it compare to the Southern Conference, and do you have to change much in how you play?
I don't think so. I don't think I have to change much about how I play. I just sharpening my approach to every game. I wouldn't say I'd actually change anything else, but I know it's a little bit higher level competition, but it's not that big of a difference.
Higher level in bigger guys, quicker guys, more talented guys, all of the above?
I know it's a couple league players in this conference for sure. Players that can play at the next level. That's everywhere though. So it's good players everywhere, and yeah.